The news that Osama bin Laden had been hiding in plain sight in a Pakistani military town surprised many Americans. But it came as no surprise to the man you'll hear from tonight. His name is Amrullah Saleh, and 4 years ago, he told Pakistan's president that bin Laden was living in that very area. At the time, Saleh was at the height of his power as Afghanistan's top spy, their chief of intelligence. No one worked more closely with the U.S. in the fight against al-Qaeda and the Taliban. He's also one of Pakistan's fiercest critics, and long before bin Laden's death, behind closed doors, he was urging the U.S. to pay attention to the intelligence he was gathering on Pakistan's covert support for America's enemies. Tonight, he makes that case publicly.
You have to give Pakistan a title. Is it a friend? What is Pakistan?
It currently has the title of ally.
Right, deceptive.
So you think its title should be?
It should be a hostile country, a hostile state.
So Pakistan is the enemy of the U.S.?
The amount of pain Pakistan has inflicted upon the United States in the past 12 years is unprecedented. No other country has inflicted that amount of pain upon your nation.
When you say pain, what do you mean specifically?
I mean, they generate fear for your country. They take your money. They do not cooperate. They created the Taliban. They are #1 in nuclear proliferation. You name it, every pain U.S. has in that part of the world, the hub of that is Pakistan.
That may sound harsh, considering what President Obama told Steve Kroft on 60 Minutes last week.
Pakistan, since 9/11, has been a strong counterterrorism partner with us.
While he acknowledged Pakistan's help in fighting al-Qaeda, the president also said the relationship has problems. And according to Amrullah Saleh, the biggest problem is Pakistan giving safe haven to Taliban leaders.
The senior Taliban leaders, we would learn about their locations every day. We would have their telephone numbers.
You had their telephone numbers?
Absolutely.
And you passed those to the U.S.?
Sure.
Saleh says many of those numbers were traced here to Quetta, Pakistan, where the Taliban senior leaders known as the Quetta Shura are based. Was any action ever taken against them?
Not against Quetta Shura, never.
The U.S. could have taken action against senior Taliban
leadership. They can
leadership.
take action tomorrow.
They still can?
Of course.
And they don't?
They don't. That's why I say the surge is not addressing the fundamental question. What do you do with sanctuaries in Pakistan?
Amrullah is actually a friend of mine.
Congressman Mike Rogers is chairman of the House Intelligence Committee that helps oversee all of America's intelligence agencies. He echoed what President Obama has said and told us Pakistan has arrested hundreds of terrorists in cities across the country over the last 10 years. Rogers also confirmed what Amrullah Saleh said about the Taliban senior leaders operating from Quetta, Pakistan.
No doubt about it, for far too long. It was one of those, I think, arranged trade-offs for other bits of cooperation. And remember, this is this.
So the U.S. knew that and accepted it?
Well, they knew that they weren't being aggressive there. It didn't stop CIA's interests in trying to determine exactly who, what, when, where in Quetta, which is, you've been there, I've been there. It is a difficult place to operate under any circumstances.
Why doesn't the U.S. say to Pakistan, if you don't go after the Afghan Taliban's leadership, the Quetta Shura, we're going to do it?
Well, I mean, that's a great point. Many pressed the administration to do just that. And there's been a constant debate since I've been certainly on the Intelligence Committee about how far we go.
Do you consider Pakistan a good ally, a strong ally?
I would say Pakistan is an ally. There's serious challenges there. An ally may be too strong a word. We have yet to clearly define with each other that our national interests coincide.
Amrullah Saleh says Pakistan goes after some of America's enemies while protecting others. It's a problem U.S. military and political leaders have raised repeatedly with their Pakistani counterparts. There was a time when Saleh and Pakistan fought against a common enemy, the Soviets, who occupied Afghanistan during the 1980s. This is Saleh in a BBC documentary we found from 20 years ago. At the age of 19, he was already a seasoned war veteran, in charge of rebuilding villages bombed in the fighting. Like many Afghans, Saleh was born into war and grew up dirt poor. His experience and intellect and hatred for the Taliban's extremist views helped his rapid rise to the powerful position of intelligence chief when he was just 32. He quit the Afghan government last summer, but his reputation still opens doors for him in Washington today. When we saw him on his last trip, he had just met with some of the most senior people in the U.S. government responsible for Afghan policy.
I asked a U.S. politician today, I said, how do you explain to Americans that we gave billions to Pakistan and Pakistan in return supports the Taliban, and the Taliban in return yesterday killed 6 American soldiers?
And what did this politician say?
His answer was not satisfactory.
What was it?
He said, well, we know this.
And no one does anything about it.
Exactly.
While American soldiers come home in body bags.
Yes. Yes.
When we went to the front lines in eastern Afghanistan last summer, we found U.S. commanders there shared Amrullah Saleh's concerns about Pakistan. Over 3 weeks, the American units we were with were attacked again and again. Here, soldiers from the 101st Airborne Division are fighting their way out of an ambush, not far from the Pakistani border. They told us that as fast as they kill their enemy, they're replaced with new fighters pouring over the border in a seemingly endless supply.
Most of the people we are fighting are from Pakistan.
Lieutenant Colonel J.B. Val lost 17 soldiers over the past year. He told us his forces killed hundreds of fighters in constant battles. But you can't defeat an enemy that has safe haven over the border. How significant is that to the strength of the enemy?
It's very. Freedom of movement and maneuver is sacrosanct. Once you have that, all things are possible.
And that's what they have inside Pakistan?
They have a lot of that inside Pakistan.
Do you think the U.S. should be more aggressive with Pakistan?
I do believe we have to be more aggressive. You can't put soldiers in harm's way and not be aggressive with where the enemies we know are threatening our soldiers and our country reside.
What do you think is the most egregious thing the Pakistanis have done in this relationship with the U.S.?
I think they have disclosed operations that we have shared with them. I know that to be true. I think they've held back information that they could have possibly given us. We know that to be true. We have to negotiate even now to get access to the wives of bin Laden. They've been playing a funny game with us, I think, for internal political consumption, more so than the reality.
Even now, in the wake of bin Laden's death?
Yeah, they haven't been fully cooperative yet. I imagine that they will get there.
It took Pakistan more than a week to get there, and so far they've only allowed the U.S. limited access to the wives under the supervision of Pakistan's intelligence services. Amrullah Saleh believes Pakistan should now deliver other high-value targets. Mike Rogers agrees.
I hope that they see this as an opportunity to be more cooperative, to be more open, to help us with other targets that we have in Pakistan that we're very interested in having apprehended.
Such as Al-Qaeda's number 2.
Zawahiri is a great example. I believe he's in Pakistan.
Al-Qaeda's leaders and the Taliban have been trying to kill Amrullah Saleh for years. When we first met him at Afghanistan's intelligence headquarters in Kabul in 2009, he was living under constant threat of assassination.
I am a very, very legitimate target. And if they kill me, I have told my family and my friends not to complain about anything, because I have killed many of them with pride.
Today, even though he's out of the government, he still travels across the country campaigning for the defeat of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. And he's still a marked man.
I was ambushed 3 times after resigning.
After resigning?
Yes. When I was traveling, I was ambushed. The convoy I was traveling with was ambushed.
Are you worried about your own survival?
No. No. There is a cause. And if in pursuance of that cause, I embrace death, it will be a dignified death.
The death of Osama bin Laden deep inside Pakistan didn't surprise Amrullah Saleh because he'd been making that case for years. Saleh says he confronted former Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf back in 2007. He told him Afghan intelligence believed bin Laden was in the Pakistani city of Mansehra. Saleh told us Musharraf was so offended that he lunged at him, and Afghan President Hamid Karzai had to intervene. It turns out Mansehra is just 12 miles from where Osama bin Laden was eventually found.